This week, something important unfolded with very little noise around it, not because it was minor. But because it happened far from television studios, far from campaign rallies, and far from the places where political attention usually gathers. The United States carried out military strikes inside Nigeria. That fact alone deserves attention. American airstrikes in Nigeria are not common. They are unusual. They involve delicate diplomacy. And they sit at the crossroads of security policy, religious narratives, and long-running instability. On late Thursday, President Donald Trump announced that U.S. forces had conducted what he described as powerful and deadly strikes against Islamic State fighters operating in northwestern Nigeria. His language was forceful. He portrayed the group as brutal extremists. He accused them of murdering civilians. And he placed the operation within a broader promise to confront what he calls radical Islamic terrorism. Yeah, that framing is not incidental. It shapes how the public understands what happened. But before examining the politics surrounding the announcement, it's important to establish the basic facts. According to U.S. Africa Command, the strikes took place in Sokoto State in northwestern Nigeria. They were carried out in coordination with Nigerian authorities, and they were described as precision strikes aimed at terrorist targets. The U.S. Department of Defense later released a short piece of footage. It appears to show a missile being launched from a military vessel. There was no narration, no dramatic explanation. Just visual confirmation that American military force had been used inside Nigerian territory. Nigeria's foreign minister soon confirmed the operation. He said it was a joint mission. He explained that it had been planned well in advance, and he stressed one point repeatedly. This operation, he said, was not about religion. That clarification was deliberate, because President Trump's public comments went beyond the military details. He argued that the extremist group was deliberately targeting Christians. He suggested that Christians in Nigeria face an existential danger. Those claims have gained traction in some U.S. political circles in recent months. They are emotionally charged. They are politically powerful, and they require careful examination. Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa. Its population is almost evenly split between Muslims and Christians. And for more than a decade, the country has endured relentless violence. Bandit groups like Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa province have killed thousands. They have destroyed villages. They have attacked churches. They have attacked mosques. They have kidnapped children. They have slaughtered civilians indiscriminately. And yet there is a crucial detail that often goes missing. According to independent organizations that track political violence, the majority of people killed by jihadist groups in Nigeria have been Muslims. That fact does not erase Christian suffering. It does not deny that religious communities have been attacked. But it directly challenges the idea that the violence in Nigeria can be accurately described as a one-sided campaign against a single faith. But Nigerian officials have been consistent in making this point. They argue that extremist violence cuts across religious lines. They say the roots of the crisis lie in insurgency, poverty, weak governance, and long-term instability, not in a simple religious divide. They also warn that outside narratives, especially when oversimplified, can deepen existing tensions rather than resolve them. This is why Nigeria's foreign minister emphasized so strongly that the recent operation had nothing to do with religion. And it is why President Bola Tinubu has repeatedly stated that Nigeria remains a country built on religious coexistence. The significance of this story extends well beyond Nigeria's borders. U.S. military action rarely exists in isolation. It carries diplomatic weight, it sends signals, and it reflects political priorities. In November, President Trump had already instructed the Pentagon to prepare for potential military action in Nigeria. More recently, he designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern under U.S. religious freedom laws. And that designation is not symbolic. It opens the door to sanctions, it influences foreign policy, and it reflects how the U.S. government chooses to interpret Nigeria's internal conflict. Plamenja. At the same time, Nigerian leaders have drawn careful boundaries. They welcome cooperation. They value intelligence sharing. They accept support. But they also emphasize sovereignty. Nigeria does not want to be portrayed as a stage for American domestic politics. And that tension lies at the heart of this moment, because what took place this week operates on multiple levels. Ban on the surface, it was a counterterrorism mission. Targets were identified, strikes were carried out, and ally was consulted. Land at a deeper level, it feeds into a broader debate about how violence in Africa is explained to American audiences. Who is framed as the victim, who is defined as the aggressor, and which complexities are left out. Bunja, there is also an important regional context. Nigeria's northwest has seen a surge in violence in recent years, not only from jihadist organizations, but from armed criminal gangs, from bandit groups, from ongoing conflicts between farmers and herders over land and water. These struggles are often reduced to religious labels. But in reality, they are also driven by environmental stress, economic hardship, and the absence of effective state control. And those factors do not fit neatly into political slogans, but they are central to understanding what is happening on the ground. U.S. officials have said that additional strikes remain a possibility. Any further action, they say, would be decided in coordination with Nigerian leadership. And for now, both governments are presenting the operation as a controlled partnership, as targeted, as limited in scope. What remains uncertain is the long-term impact, whether these strikes will meaningfully weaken extremist networks, or whether they risk intensifying already fragile tensions in affected regions. History offers a cautionary note. Air power can disrupt militant groups, it can eliminate leadership, it can slow operations. Bonds, but on its own, it rarely resolves insurgencies. It does not fix economic collapse. It does not rebuild trust. And it does not address the conditions that allow extremism to take root. That reality sits just beneath the surface of this story, because this was never only about a missile launch. It was also about narrative, about how conflict is framed, about how power is exercised far from American borders. Nigeria's security crisis is real. The victims are real. They include Muslims, they include Christians, and they include people who identify with neither. How this story is told will influence how it is understood, and how it is understood may shape what happens next. All means, in the end, what unfolded over the skies of Sokoto may matter less than the choices made afterward. And that is the part of this story that is still being written.